Okay, our last section of enzymes is feedback systems. What are feedback systems? So there's two types of feedback system: positive feedback, negative feedback. And negative feedback is it's to maintain homeostasis. Okay, so it's to maintain that optimum temperature, optimum pH, so our cells can function. Negative feedback in a system, in a metabolic pathway, is so that things don't get out of control, so the baseline is maintained. So an example of a negative feedback system, these can exist in everything. They don't even exist just in biology, but they are used as control in biology. So negative feedback system, for example, temperature, how you control your temperature, right? Isn't there be a negative feedback system for that? So your body gets too hot. You start getting hot. Temperature goes up. It's bad. The reaction rate goes up, but remember, your enzymes can denature. So what your body does is it tries to cool you off. So you start to sweat. Capillaries in your skin are near your skin open. Basically, our arterioles open, so more blood is pumped to your extremities. You get flushed, you get hot, you get red, and that blood now is hot blood that's from your core. That blood is hot. And as your sweat evaporates off your skin where this warm blood is coming, that act of evaporating absorbs energy. It takes that heat away and cools down your blood, which then that cool blood will go on and cool down your organs. So now you're starting to cool down. You've had a temperature went up. You initiated activity to cool you down. Temperature goes down. You return to homeostasis. If the temperature goes too far down, your body starts to heat you up. You might shiver. So shivering is going to start moving your muscles. And when your muscles start to move, what will happen is ATP gets broken into ADP, and that releases heat all over your body. If you're shivering, you're breaking ADP into ATP, and that is an exothermic reaction, so you're actually producing heat. You're starting to warm up. Your body also closes the arterioles that lead blood to the surface of your skin, so that your blood is just circling around in your core, and that blood starts to heat up. So you start to heat up, and you return back to homeostasis. Then you get too hot, you start to cool down. Negative feedback, negative feedback. So basically, in a negative feedback system, the products or the actions, so a certain action or a certain condition, its product or its results will inhibit that initial condition. That makes sense. And return things back. A positive feedback system. So positive feedback system. Most of the systems in your body, you're trying to maintain homeostasis. You're trying to maintain that baseline. Negative feedback. So you're always coming back. pH increases in your blood. You become too basic. Your body releases hydrogen ions into your blood so that it becomes more acidic. It becomes too acidic. Your body starts to take up hydrogen ions so that your blood returns back to being about neutral. Your blood is a little bit basic, actually. Positive feedback works the other way. Positive feedback acts so that you break baseline condition. So a great example of positive feedback, and I have seen this for myself twice, is birth. What happens is baby grows, and it presses on the cervix when it gets big enough, which is like the opening to the uterus. It presses on that, and there are nerves in there, in the cervix, that when they are stimulated, when they're pressed upon, they send a signal into your brain, your medulla oblongata, and your medulla oblongata, the pituitary gland, releases oxytocin, which is a hormone that then travels through your blood and goes into the uterus where the baby is, and tells the uterus, basically makes the uterus contract. The muscles around the uterus, they squeeze. And they squeeze the baby. And the baby pushes against the cervix. When it pushes against the cervix, the nerves in the cervix send a signal to the pituitary. The pituitary releases more oxytocin, which causes the uterus to squeeze again, which causes the baby to press against the cervix, which causes more a signal to the pituitary, causes more oxytocin, more contracting of the uterus, more pressing of the baby, and on. And you see this loop, this positive feedback loop, where each step amplifies the step before it. In a negative feedback, each step inhibits the step before it, but in positive feedback, each step amplifies the step before it, which amplifies the step itself. And it continues on, it continues on, it continues on until the baby, there we go, pops out of the vagina, and there it is, a baby. And now there's no longer anything pressing on the uterus or on the cervix, and so the whole process stops. But a new baseline has, a new condition has been established. Condition sans baby, basically. So that's how a positive feedback loop. It builds, it builds, it builds, it builds until you reach a new condition. How does this work in metabolic pathways? How it works in metabolic pathways is how it works for enzymes, because we are mainly here talking about enzymes, is if you've got a metabolic pathway, you've got many steps here. Metabolic pathway, it ends with a product. So you start with a substrate. You've got many steps here, enzymatic steps, doing stuff. Enzymes come in and doing stuff, and you end up with a product. And so you keep getting more and more product. Eventually, there's the concentration of the product is so great, and this product can act as an inhibitor to the first step in the metabolic pathway, that first enzyme that comes in and does something. And usually it'll act as a non-competitive inhibitor. So it will change the shape of the active site. And so then the metabolic pathway stops. You got negative feedback because now you have enough concentration of the product. And then as the product gets used, the inhibition stops and you begin again and you continue making more product. Negative, positive feedback systems. That's it for that. There's not much more to say about that. And that's the end of the enzymes.